saddle again. It's been a little while since I put one of these up. As it turns out, my external hard drive doesn't care too much to have the Mexican road piss in its brain. But anyway, it's time to get back on it. Alright, so here I've added episode 9 directly from 7, being that episode 8 isn't said hard drive. Once I recover the data, I'll go ahead and upload it, but, you know, such is life. Sometimes things just break down. Until I pick up where I left off and fill in everything that's missing, I'll just say this. We drove around Puerto Vallarta, had a great time, beautiful place, totally colonial, unlike any other place we'd seen in Mexico yet. However, I don't know if Sam cared too much for all the hills.
Should I walk?
We'd have probably stayed longer, but it is a place that's really a hot spot for American tourism, and with Americans come American prices. So for a cheapskate like myself, I was a vapor trail out of there. But not without Sam getting her $2 haircut first. We left Puerto Vallarta and headed to our first Pueblo Mágico, Mascota.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean Sam and I and her entire family.
Yeah, until it's a town.
They get concerned about her traveling about Mexico.
Pulled up for a gas station. You know you're in a small town when everyone starts looking at you.
As it turns out, they got to tag along and, you know, keep tabs on their daughter they were concerned about.
Yeah, it's pleasant. It's not a shady area. It's just Mexico. I think more traditional. Yeah, and we're going over cobblestone road. Not the nice cobblestone, you know. Yeah, people are just hanging out, being people, but you can tell they don't get a lot of tourists in this area.
And being that Sam's on the phone a lot talking with her family, that leaves Mr. Travis
All by himself.
One cool thing that this magic little town had was this one spot that was called a Templo Inconcluso de la Preciosa Sangre. In other words, the unfinished temple of the precious blood.
Dad, this is part of a church. Buenas.
Of course, we had to go walk about, check it out.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
By a bunch of tequila distilleries and ended up in a little town by the name of Teotihuacan. Trying to enter the archaeological site, we were rejected and told it wouldn't be open for days, which wouldn't work for our plans. We rode around the backside and tried talking to the farmer around there, to see if he didn't mind us going onto his property. The place was called Guachimontes. Guachimontones. No idea. Don't really know. The jury's still out there on what it's actually called. But, you know.
Okay, So we're going to see some circle pyramids. Travis was able to get us in. I don't know how. We're the back way. It's closed until Thursday. Today is Monday. So we went to see if there was a back way, which there was. Hiking up a hill. Horses around us. The back way, we actually got permission. Travis has his drone up right now. The security guard just saw us. We're at Guachimontones.
Guachimontes.
Guachimontones.
Guachimontes.
Guachimontones. Guachimontones. The security guard is watching us. He knows we're right here on this guy's property, but he can't cross because there's a river between him and us. He's walking away. By the way, these are the only circle pyramids in the world. They were before the Mayans, before the Aztecs, somewhere between 350 and 400 BC. Right?
Yeah.
Bless you, Travis. They don't know the exact meaning for these pyramids, but there is speculation that they were used for ceremonies, rituals, and meeting. I had enough. I'm just going to slowly walk down while my husband puts the drone away. I can't believe he did that. I know I'm crouched over so they can't see me over the fence as I head down back to the motorcycle. The other cool thing about this area is that there's tons of natural obsidian just laying around everywhere. Obsidian was used to make weapons, swords for the Mexica tribes, part of the Aztecs. And then when they were faced with Europeans, Spanish, who had metal swords, they couldn't compare. Obsidian failed, but today obsidian is used to ward off evil energy and to protect your energy. No, this is not obsidian. There's some obsidian. There's some.
We beat feet out of there and then headed on into town to the local balneario, which is a water park in Mexico where you can camp, actually.
All right, this is our kind of campsite.
Is it? Maybe your kind of campsite. It's a really nice campsite. There's tons of water slides. All the kids are having fun. Families are grilling, having picnics. It's a good time.
Check it out. Vamos allá. Chingo de jale. Okay.
He doesn't know how much I worry about him when he does this shit. You are on YouTube.
Ajá. Pero me ha pasado una vez, me quedé sin batería porque todo estaba enchufado y al final cuando iba a arrancar la moto me quedo como, ¿qué pasa? Y tenía que empujarla y ya eso, olvídalo. No, está muy pesada.
After playtime with the Mexican kids, it was time to ride back into Teotihuacan and see if we could scale a mountain that looked over Guachimontones. It was a nice sunset overlooking the circle pyramids, and it just so happens we bumped into the president of the town.
Okay, so I'm going to explain to everyone what's happening right now. We just met the president of this town, and even though Guachimontones is closed, we get a private viewing. We're going in with the president right now. This is the president's car right now. He's unlocking the gate so we can have a special entrance.
I didn't know Mexican towns had presidents, but yeah, here's the guy. He was a friendly rancher that really just loved his town and his people and was really happy that we were there, so he invited us over and let us in this back gate that had a direct path to the pyramids.
Te lo juro, nos has hecho el día.
Oh my God.
Ahí llegan ahí. Aquí los espero yo.
Okay, muy bien. Ya volvemos. He said he's gonna wait here for us. We're gonna run down there 10, 15 minutes. Okay, perfecto. Gracias.
Le cierro cuando entre.
Okay.
Okay. De vuelta.
Okay, de vuelta. Vale. Wow.
Okay, everyone. We have our own private entrance into Guachimontones. That's right, our own private entrance.
He's just
It's so nice.
Yeah, just an incredibly friendly guy.
Yeah, the president, maybe the mayor of this town for the last 3 years, and we get to go on the property. This place is closed for the next 4 days, but he's generously letting us come onto the property. This is a dream come true. A dream come true.
Rápido viaje sin parada y vuelta atrás, como una exhalación, somos tú y yo. Respuesta a esta pregunta, pues escrito nunca estuvo este amor entre los dos, vive a ráfagas de luz y oscuridad.
How badass is it to come to the only circle pyramids in the world? Really badass.
Los mexicanos me caen muy bien.
Somos una cálida silueta que se junta y se nos va, como una estación. Somos tú y yo, de una punta a otra punta, alma, corazón y cielo, habla el veo de tu voz. Cubre de cada...
Here's a morning tip for everyone. Don't leave your motorcycle helmet underneath a tree, or you'll end up looking like this.
Sam cleaned off her helmet and we headed to the neighbor town to get some food. They had some fresh pressed tortillas, mighty fine, but not without leaving Teochitlan without stopping by the main plaza just to get a little shot here.
Okay.
But Mr. GTA looking cop didn't much care for us being around there. He told us to go on and skedaddle. So we did. Now would be just as good a time as any to explain the route. As I said, we started in Puerto Vallarta and then headed over to Mascota, then swung on down to Teochitlan, passed through Guadalajara, up to Lagos de Moreno, to León, al final.
Luego.
Easter was coming up, so we saw a lot of pilgrims making their pilgrimage along the way. Some even carried the Virgin Mary on their backs.
Alrighty, estamos en Guadalajara. We're in Guadalajara, and
Y vamos a la iglesia.
boom!
made it to Lagos de Moreno to camp at a water park. I guess sleeping at water parks was becoming our thing. Anyways, there we met a very kind Mexican family who invited us to join them for breakfast.
All right.
They also invited us to join them for the weekend at their place in León. We accepted both offers, hopped on Furby Array, crossed on over into the Mexican state of Guanajuato, and drove on over to have burritos for dinner. And that, my friends, is Mexican hospitality. While on the topic of hospitality, I couldn't call this a motovlog/history lesson without making a few observations in regards to the collision of cultures which took place during one of my favorite historical periods, the Age of Exploration. Given that it is a Eurocentric term, I'd like to do my humble best in the episodes to come, offering a fair swat at the topic considering European and indigenous Mexican interests at the time. Sadly, it has become fashionable nowadays to idolize the vanquished and besmirch the victors. People are complicated, likewise their history. A historic interpretation of good guys versus bad guys is the intellectual proposition of a child. However, let's consider this. What if the father of your country were best known for cutting down an Aztec empire rather than a cherry tree? Would you honor him with a monument? This question is still hotly debated in Mexico, a sign that the European impact half a millennia ago remains much more than some toothless vestige of colonialism. We are still left reeling from it, especially in Mexico, a country that is home to 6.4 million speakers of indigenous languages. Carlos Monsiváis, a leading essayist on Mexican culture and grandchild to Nahuatl speakers, writes that Mexico is culturally mestizo, but ethnically it is still an Indian country. One look at the currency and anyone can find the first indigenous president, Benito Juárez, as well as Nezahualcóyotl, the king of the city-state of Texcoco in pre-Hispanic times. No sign of Cortés, though, nor La Malinche, the native translator to Cortés. Scholars and historians marked her multiracial child with Cortés as the symbolic beginning of the large mestizo population that developed in Mesoamerica. Admittedly, Cortés is to have asserted that after God, La Malinche was the main reason for his success. This leaves little doubt as to why the pejorative term Malinchista is still put to use today in reference to the disloyal compatriot Mexicans, which is a very nice way of calling someone a traitor. And just a little side note, the woman venerated as La Malinche by the 16th century Spaniards could have had many names actually. Her baptized name was Marina. Her Nahuatl name was Malitzin, derived from Malina, a Nahuatl rendering of her Spanish name, with the honorific suffix added to it. Her original birthplace is a bit uncertain. One thing that is certain, though, is the fact she was human trafficked as a sex slave, either being sold by her own family or kidnapped by a rival tribe and eventually handed over to Cortés. Coming back to the present, I am currently uploading this video in 2021, a year which denotes the passing of 500 years since the founding of Mexico City and 200 years since Mexico achieved its independence from Spain. It is also a time in which the West has begun to suffer from an identity crisis, at times addled with corrosive self-loathing. Interestingly, Cortés is to have spoken on this very peculiar political conjuncture we find ourselves in, saying, "Every kingdom divided against itself shall be rendered desolate." Although the Spanish had their guns, germs, and steel, the cunning diplomacy of Cortés is often overlooked. Sure, he was ruthless, even a monster to the Aztecs, certainly. However, he knew weakness when he saw it. And as history attests, he knew the path to dominion was paved in his adversity's internal division. While Mexican officials have dubbed the remembrance 500 years of indigenous resistance, the resistance tag overlooks an uncomfortable fact. More than 90% of Cortés's troops in the siege of Tenochtitlan were indigenous rivals of the Aztecs, notably warriors from the Tlaxcalan and Totonac cultures. Cortés only arrived with approximately 450 Spaniards. They'd have faced certain doom without their auxiliary forces. Mexican novelist Carlos Fuentes provoked the ire of others in saying, with the passing of 500 years, it is high time Mexico comes to terms with its colonial past and erect a statue of Cortés. And what better place to do so than in Mexico City, the nation's capital built over the ruins of Tenochtitlan? Fuentes didn't want just any statue either, rather a full-bodied Cortés on horseback. Fuentes said, "We have not overcome the trauma of the conquest. We behaved like a colonized country. We were born of a crime of extreme cruelty, but we were able to build ourselves and have created a culture that is Spanish, Catholic, mestizo. Our father was Hernán Cortés whether we like it or not." Nobel laureate Octavio Paz objected to the idea of a statue being erected, but actually found an issue on which he could agree, saying, "It is time Cortés took his rightful place as a historic figure. He is a figure who has a dark side and a bright side. He is neither an angel nor a devil. He was a great military tactician. He was not a barbarian." As I would like to get into in the episodes to come, Moctezuma was a complicated figure as well. Neither Cortés nor Moctezuma could be seen as paragon in understanding and clemency. These were harsh times with harsh men who ruled the day. During a speech in Spain, Octavio Paz sums it up well in saying, "To idolize the vanquished is no less fallacious than to idolize the victors." Next time I'd like to explore some of the nuances between these two. Writing about Mexico, I found it compelling to see, although much blood has been spilt of both the vanquished and the victors, what ultimately has emerged is a shared heritage unlike any other born out of a destined globalized world, something some of our neighbors to the south are quite proud of. They are a composition of both the conqueror and the subjugated, something that the descendants to colonial England may not find as present in their ranks.